Hello and welcome to my video. Today we're going to talk about how to build a strong handstand. I'm not some world-class professional hand balancer. I'm self-taught and I've been doing handstands for just around 2 years now. I like to think I've gotten relatively decent at it. I've made a load of mistakes, but I've learned from those mistakes. I'm also not some know-it-all guru when it comes to handstands, but I'm a personal trainer at the gym and I've worked with a number of other people in order to help them hold their first handstand. So I don't want you to think of this video as like a tutorial on how to do a handstand, but it's more just all the information I've learned through my own personal experience as well as with working with other people and trying to get that knowledge across to you to help fast track your own handstand progress. I believe a strong handstand consists of three main components. You get the strength component, the mobility component, and then lastly, the skill/balance component. And now if you're strong in all three of these areas, then you're gonna have a strong handstand. So the first thing you should do as a beginner is try identify which one of these areas you're lacking in, and keep in mind that for the majority of people, it's going to be multiple and not just a single one. I mean, if you can't touch your toes keeping your legs straight, then you're probably going to have issues kicking up to a handstand. If you can't open up your shoulders properly, then you're going to have a hard time trying to stack your body weight and put your body weight in that straight line over your hand. And on the strength side of things, if you can't do push-ups or dips, you're going to have very limited room to work in. Like if your elbows start bending and your shoulders start sagging, it'll be really hard for you to push yourself back into that correct handstand shape. There's a base level of both mobility and strength that you want to have. And if you can achieve that, then you'll be able to focus on the handstand skill or drill side of training without your mobility and strength being the limiting factor. I'll give you a personal example. Me and my girlfriend are both very similar when it comes to our background into calisthenics. We both come from like a powerlifting, bodybuilding hybrid style of training. And now my girlfriend, luckily, she didn't do the stupid approach that I did where I just went for attempts and attempts of handstands without actually addressing the weak point. So what we did with her, we started focusing on the mobility side of things because she can do 20 plus bodyweight dips, really strong girl, but her mobility, she won't mind saying, is really, or it was really bad. So we did things like shoulder dislocates, shoulder extension stretches, hamstring stretches, forearm stretches, wrist stretches, all of that stuff. And at the same time, we started doing really basic bodyweight exercises that help transfer her powerlifting strength over to the calisthenics world. So things like pike push-ups, pseudo push-ups, frog pose for her wrists. And because of that, in a 3-month span, she went from not being able to kick up into a handstand because of her hamstrings to now having consistent handstand holds like on the regular. Same thing with me. I had such a horrible looking handstand where I'm just holding myself up purely on strength and zero technique. And then when I finally started addressing the weak point, which was my scapular mobility, because in powerlifting and like bodybuilding, everything is sort of shoulder blades pressed back or retracted towards one another. Very little protraction, very little like overhead work. So I started doing things like scapular dips, scapular push-ups, shoulder external and internal rotations. And as soon as my shoulders actually got a lot more healthy, my handstand progress just increased rapidly. To quickly summarize, the first thing you should do as a beginner is be honest with yourself. Do you have sufficient mobility and strength? If you do, then you can focus on the handstand skill and handstand drill side of training. If you don't, then spend some time working on your weak points. It doesn't mean you have to completely do nothing handstand related. You can do basic drills that you can tolerate, but just remember that you're always going to be handicapped and sort of hindered by your mobility and strength until you address those areas. The second most common mistake beginners make is not actually spending enough time upside down. So as good as handstand attempts are, in your handstand training session, you want to spend a decent amount of time upside down in the handstand position. And how do you do that? Well, that's where the wall or a spotter comes into play. Not everyone has a spotter, but I think a wall works just as well. Personally, I'd recommend you do both chest to wall and back to wall handstand drills. Now, why is it important that you accumulate a decent amount of time upside down and actually use a wall or a spotter? Well, when you do this, you're giving your shoulders and your wrist a prolonged exposure in that position, so it's going to help them strengthen. And also you're giving your brain a chance to actually adjust and get comfortable to being upside down in that handstand position. And both of these things are going to help your freestanding handstand attempts. Try accumulate 90 seconds to 2 minutes of time upside down, and you can break it up. So like 4 sets of 20 to 30 seconds. Also very important, make sure you're resting a decent amount of time in between. Handstands aren't exactly a strength skill, but for beginners, it does take a large toll on your wrists and your shoulders. So make sure you can also manage the volume you're doing, not just in a single workout, but throughout the entire week. Professional hand balancers can do handstands every single day and they will be fine, but as a beginner, don't compare yourselves to them. So rather err on the side of caution and do less. And then over time, as you get more conditioned, you can start increasing the volume and frequency of your handstand training. Approach handstand training properly, give it the respect it deserves. And if you do that, I promise you, you're going to make a lot more faster progress than if you just go for attempts after attempts. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments and I will get back to you. All the best, and I hope you enjoy your training.